Hello everyone, today we're going to be revising Macbeth, bringing together what we've learned from the first three acts of Macbeth. Most of the tasks in today's lesson I'm going to give you plenty of time to do. So I'm going to give you instructions, then time to do it, and occasionally I'll fill you in with a bit of teaching on each of those things. The first thing I need you to do is to get yourself a big piece of paper, or you can print this out, but I don't think that's ideal, or you can do it on the computer yourself, again, not ideal. And to draw a big graph. So just draw the axis coming down and the one going on the bottom. But the one on the bottom, can you leave space underneath? Okay, take a few minutes, draw your graph now. Okay, welcome back. You've got your lines drawn. Now the first thing we want to be doing within these lines is we want to be adding the scene numbers. You've studied, would you believe, 17 scenes. 7 in Act 1, 4 in Act 2, and 6 in Act 3. Makes 17 scenes. So if you can spread them out evenly along the bottom line like that. Pause the video and do that, please. Okay, welcome back. You've got all your scenes marked out there. The next thing I'd like you to do is to actually give each scene a summary, but keep your summaries incredibly short. So you've been doing 20-word summaries, haven't you? Let's do them even shorter. Now, where are you going to get these summaries from? Here are 4 options, and these are in order of how I'd like you to use them. Ideally, I would like you to use your own notes. That means that your notes have been useful for you. So if you can use your own notes for each scene, remember you've done your 20-word, 10-word and 20-word summaries. If you can use those, that'd be ideal. My second choice is to use our YouTube tutorials, and I've put the link in here for you to click this and go to our playlists for Macbeth. The third choice is to use any revision site on Macbeth. Here I've put in the link to Cliff Notes for Act 1, Scene 1, and it then links you to all of the rest of the scenes. And the fourth choice is to use the study booklet we have sent through. So literally your summaries can be mega short like this. 1.1, meaning Act 1, Scene 1, Witches. 1.2, Act 1, Scene 2, Macbeth, War Hero. Right, this will probably take you 10 minutes, I would say, to get all your really fast summaries done. When you're done, click back here and let's continue with the lesson. Okay, so you'll have all your summaries along the bottom there. That's my 17 summaries of the scenes. Now, along your the vertical axis there, I want you to write audience tension. How tense is the audience feeling at these particular moments? And is it high tension or is it low tension? So just draw that on the sides. And then we're going to start making ourselves a bar chart. Now I've gone with bar chart rather than a line graph because I want us within the bars to be adding further information. So here's my first scene, and there's my bar for Act 1, Scene 1 with the witches. And I don't think it's particularly tense. It's just a few strange witches in the middle of a field talking a little bit. The fact they mentioned Macbeth foreshadows the tragedy a little bit. I'm thinking the audience at the time might be a bit scared, but it doesn't really have very high tension, does it? When Macbeth's the war hero, the war's over, there's nothing really to be tense about, and we just hear the heroics, that's very low tension. But when Macbeth meets the witches and he gets the first prophecy, then the tension, I think, starts to increase because we start to see Macbeth's own desires for the throne. Okay, give yourself 5, 6 minutes, maybe more if you need it, and do your bars. Don't colour them in or anything yet, but we are going to come to that. Press play when you're ready to continue. Okay, welcome back. My bar charts look a bit like this. So let's explore what happens to the tension in Macbeth. Well, as we see throughout Act 1, it rises and rises and rises. We have the one instance in Act 1, Scene 6 where the tension decreases. That's when Lady Macbeth is greeting Duncan, but remember that she's still being deceptive there. The tension builds up and up and up until the climax. We used that word in our last lesson there. The moment, the fateful decision made by the protagonist in the tragedy, the murder of King Duncan. The tension is incredibly high here. and then it drops again, gradually, until we reaches another massive height here with Banquo's ghost appearing. And then, after each moment of massively high tension, it drops again. The audience has their moments of respite, their moments of calm. Okay? Yours might not look like that. It might look like that. It's absolutely fine. It's your views on the tension. Now, what are we going to put inside the bar charts? Well, the first thing we're going to try and put inside them is one quote to try and remember from each scene. So for Act 1, Scene 1, I've used fair is foul and foul is fair. Or the Witches version, fair is foul and foul is fair. My best Witches voice, we've used that one. For Act 1, Scene 5, I've used Lady Macbeth's look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. For Act 2, Scene 2, when Macbeth and Lady Macbeth have bloody hands, Lady Macbeth says, a little water clears us off this deed. For Act 3, Scene 1, Macbeth plotting Banquo's murder, Macbeth angrily talking about the seed of Banquo's kings, because he's really angry about the fact that Banquo's children will become kings, and it brings in all sorts of issues about Macbeth and his own, the fact that he has no heir to the throne, his own anger about those particular things, and his motivation for killing Banquo. You don't have to pick those quotes at all, but what I want you to do is to choose one key quote. Now, you have got lots of things you can use for this. You've got your own notes, you've got our YouTube tutorials, you've got a link to Cliff Notes, and you've got a booklet that we've provided as well. I don't mind what you choose, but this is the big part of the lesson. So 15 minutes maybe, the best quote for each scene, write it inside the bar. When you're done, come back to me. Okay everyone, welcome back. You would now have quotes within each bar on your bar chart. Great revision tool we're building up here, isn't it? I now want to think about characterization, and we're going to start to add some colour to this to make it more memorable. Colours are very effective things for creating and building memories. Now I have colour coded each of the characters here. Macbeth, red, because he's often associated with blood, isn't he? Now Lady Macbeth was a difficult choice for me. I initially wanted to go black, because Lady Macbeth asks for the blackness to come thick night and things like that, she says, and Paulie in the dunnest smoke of hell. But if I use black, I wouldn't be able to see my quotes, so I'm not going to do that. So I am going to go for a massive gender stereotype in here. I'm going for pink because I think Lady Macbeth's femininity is incredibly important to her. Don't cause any offence for doing that. I do think black's a better colour. Sorry, but we're going with pink with that. The Witch is grey because of the scenes that they're in. They're often surrounded by fog and they're wearing like kind of grey clothing often. Banquo purple. Give yourself 3 seconds to guess why. Purple for Banquo. Purple's the colour of royalty. Macbeth, when speaking about Banquo, describes him as having a royalty of nature. Remember, Banquo was also a descendant of King James I. Duncan yellow. Well, I'm not doing this because he's yellow and yellow-bellied, he's a coward, etc. Don't think he is, I think he's just weak. I'm doing this because he's actually referred to with the word golden a few times. And Macbeth, Macduff and the Lords are blue. I've gone for a kind of Scottish flag type blue to represent Scotland, because I think that's ultimately what they do, really. They represent, in many cases, the salvation of Scotland. So, can you now add your colours? If you've got the ability to use colours, great. If you don't, no problem. But add your colours, please, to the charts. I will give you about 5-10 minutes to do that. That's your colour coding system. And it will look a bit like that. Off you go. When you're done, come back to me. Okay, everyone, welcome back. So here we have our charts all coloured in. And now I think this makes a really interesting visual representation of the play that so far. We really see early on the importance of the witches. And then when the witches are put to one side, Lady Macbeth becomes incredibly important, doesn't she? As her manipulative powers over Macbeth start to really drive forward the tragedy. But if you look at beyond Act 2, Scene 2, Lady Macbeth, she's only really important in one scene. And that's Act 3, Scene 2. And even then she's only important because of the fact she's actually being ignored by Macbeth. That's interesting. Also interesting for me is just how much the tragic hero, the protagonist of the play, Macbeth, dominates this. It's really his story, isn't it? Once the king's been killed, we start to hear from other Scotsmen. Macduff becomes a more prominent figure. We hear from Ross, Macduff. We hear from Lennox in Act 3, Scene 6. So we start to get the people of Scotland fighting back against this tyrant Macbeth. Okay, so you got your colour coding. What we're going to move on to now, the final stage, we're going to look at themes. Here are images for 5 themes of Macbeth. I want you to guess what each theme is based on the image. Pause the video and make your guesses. Okay, everyone, welcome back. Here are the answers. We're going to look at the themes of ambition, power, the supernatural, guilt, and appearance versus reality. And what I want you to do is to attach one of these symbols to the relevant scenes in the play, and I'll show you how to do that. Now, if you want to change your symbols, that's absolutely fine. But we're going to look here at, I'm going to start with ambition. When is ambition really important in the play? Well, when Macbeth gets his first prophecy in Act 1, Scene 3, we see his ambition for the throne. This is made really important in Act 1, Scene 4, when Duncan and Malcolm are involved and Macbeth is angry about being overlooked for the throne. Act 1, Scene 5 literally references ambition. Lady Macbeth literally says something about ambition, doesn't she? She's not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it. And then in Act 2, Scene 1, Macbeth also talks about his own ambition. Describes the vaulting ambition that he feels. So ambition is important in the play until Duncan's dead. And after that, it's not about ambition, it's about protection. Look at our second theme, the supernatural. Now, this surprised me. When I immediately started attaching with supernatural things, I thought, well, obviously, Act 1, Scene 1, the witches. Act 1, Scene 3, the witches. Act 3, Scene 5, Hecate and the witches. They're really obvious ones. Then I thought, what else? I thought, oh, yes, the dagger that appears in Act 2, Scene 1. And I thought some more. Is there more going on? Of course, Banquo's ghost is a supernatural thing. How could I not have remembered that? So 5 obvious examples, but there's more to be had too. Act 1, Scene 5, Lady Macbeth summoning the spirits. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here. She calls upon the spirits. Whether she gets an answer or not, that's up to your interpretation. Then what about Act 2, Scene 4, when Ross, the old man, and Macduff are talking about the strange events that happened that night. Remember the mousing owl hunting and killing the falcon? Duncan's horses eating each other. Is something supernatural in play here? And then possibly as well, what about Act 2, Scene 2? When Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are washing their hands, there is a constant knocking. And yes, we know the porter answers the door later, and it's Macduff at the door, but I do get the feeling that knocking could be something supernatural there too. So what surprised me is just how prominent the supernatural is in this play. Out of the 17 scenes, I've got the supernatural to the fore in 8 of them. That's just under half of the scenes have the supernatural in. So I'd like you to go back to the other themes and do the same as me. And by the end, what you will have a beautiful, colourful graph with your summaries at the bottom here, summaries of each scene, with a key quote from each scene, colour-coded by the prominence of the character, and then with your themes along the top. What a stunning revision tool that will be for you. It'll be really helpful. Hope you enjoy making this. Thanks very much. Please take pictures of them, send them to your teacher. They'd love to see them. See you later.